Hello. Hi, Denise. 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 Denise, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
Steve.
Hi. How are you? Did you send the names yet?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Oh, I didn't see it. Could you send it to me again, please? Because I did not see it.
Steve, it's in your email.
I checked. Okay, hold on.
Very good.
Oh, okay. Oh, you just sent it 2:43. Okay, I was looking earlier. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Robert.
Ah.
Hi, Nicole.
Who?
Nicole? Nicole Castillo?
Yes. Hi, Nicole. There she's coming up. There she is.
There you go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Long time no talk to.
I know. I know. Are the ones that are on advisors or are those guests already? I see there's a Robert Dice. I can't.
Those are guests.
Oh, wonderful.
They're
Hello.
awaiting everything. Welcome to them.
I like those early birds.
Well, they want to catch more than worms. They want to get that special we're going to have.
How are you, Denise? Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Carlos. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Good.
How's it going today?
Good. Good. It's been a productive and busy day. Just what we like, right?
That's good. That's good.
Yes. How about for you all?
Good. Good. It's been definitely, we've been very, very, very busy. we're seeing skyrocketing demand, which we won't complain about.
No.
We're seeing some interesting movement in the marketplace, in which all this information and daily changing news on CDC and and mandates and recommendations and this and that are getting people to kind of ask a lot of questions, which is good. But I think for the most part, people are happy. You get some people that wish that the cruise lines kept the shore excursions more controlled. There's some people that wish that the mask would have been a little bit more restrictive. But then on the other hand, you have a lot of people that say, "I'm happy that I can do. I'm free to choose that, right?"
Right.
So good. I mean, today's gonna be a really good day because I don't think we've had you on for quite some time on one of these Zoom events. Is that right?
No, the last time we did it towards the end of 2020. I think when we first, just to touch bases, give a couple of, what's new, but there was still so much unknown back then that I'm excited about this call because, we have a lot more information now than we did, a couple of months ago. So
that's for sure. We have some more definitive information, right? I mean,
exactly.
I'm particularly excited about the fact that for the first time we can bring you on and actually answer some questions, right? I know that there's some questions that we might still have to research or might still be a little bit up in the air, but for the most part, at least it's not going to be like the conversation we had a few months ago where that's all I can say.
Right.
We're gonna see some loyal repeat guests of Luxury Cruise Connections in today's event. Like for example, I recognize a very loyal, not only to our events but to our company, very loyal guest, Robert Dice, who is I don't see his face, but I know he's listening.
Hello there.
And we have a few names that and I apologize if I don't specifically recognize a name or last name, but you can imagine, it gets hello Robert, how are you? It gets difficult after some time. But in any case, I wanna welcome everybody, both our existing guests at Luxury Cruise Connections and those that are just getting to know us. We're going to, for those that are joining us for the first time, I'll give you guys the drill in a second. For those that have been participating on our Zoom events, already kind of know the drill. We are expecting a pretty busy day today. We have more than, how many?
120.
We had 120 registrations, which means that most likely we will have about 60 to 65 people join the actual event, and then the other people will receive the recording. 65 people on a Regent event is definitely a success, in my opinion, because we want to make sure that we are attracting the right crowd to the right events, and I know that those that are here are going to enjoy everything that we have to say. So 2:56. As you guys join in, Denise is going to mute you. For the remaining of the conversation with Nicole. Nicole is going to start the presentation with a little bit of a few slides, right, to talk to us about Regent's new protocols and how they're seeing the return to service. And then as soon as that presentation is over, then we're going to open up for questions. So those that are here already will hear me say this one more time. but basically you're going to be writing your questions on the chat box, and then I will read those questions one by one, making sure that I don't leave none of those questions out, and try to get all these answers from Nicole. We'll do proper introductions in a minute. We're going to let people chime in all the way till 3:04, 3:05, and then we'll officially get started. And so for those that are already here, I want to thank you for being on time, or actually a few minutes early. We appreciate that, and we hope that you have an incredible event, and just enjoy everything that we have to say. For those that don't know Luxury Cruise Connections, because if you're here, is because either you've been getting our emails for a long time, or you've done business with us in the past, or you maybe have just been referred by a friend or family member that told you, hey, you should join this event. Well, let me share with you what Luxury Cruise Connections is and the relationship with Regent. Obviously, well, Regent, although we'll talk about it in a minute. But Luxury Cruise Connections is a full-fledged luxury concierge type cruise agency. We specialize in cruises, and the word luxury in our name really stands more for luxury level of service, although obviously we are great partners of luxury cruise lines like Regent Seven Seas. Our relationship with Regent Seven Seas is incredible, is huge, and it's been growing for many, many years. And we love putting our guests in Regent, because just like what we do, right? Luxury Cruise Connections, just a name that states luxury. We want to make sure that we're taking care of every single detail for our guests, right? And when I have a client, or when I have a guest that tells me, look, I want to make sure that I get this, or I want to make sure that I get that, or I want to make sure that this is in my room every single time, or I want to make sure whatever it is, then I know that I can put them on Regent, and I'm basically guaranteed they're going to get it and they're going to be well served, right? When it comes to cruises, and when it comes to hundreds of people traveling together, there's a lot of things a lot of details that can easily be missed on a cruise line that doesn't pay attention to people. And so when it comes to Regent, we know that those details are going to be paid attention to, and we know that our clients are going to be very happy, which really is an extension of the service that we provide, right? We provide detailed level of service, we provide enhanced experience, and want to make sure that our clients receive that experience all the way through their journey, right? A little bit more about what we do at Luxury Cruise Connections. We are part of the Virtuoso Consortium, or Consortia. This is the largest luxury travel consortia in the world. What that does for us is it allows us to create relationships at a level where most agencies can't, and allow us to leverage, I don't like to say buying power or negotiating power, but leverage a relationship worth many more millions of dollars a year to allow our clients to receive more amenities, more perks, and just a better experience, while at the same time gives us an opportunity to create relationships all around the world, so that when we have a client that says, I need you to take care of my air because I need to go, I fly in so many days early, and I need you to take care of my hotel pre or my hotel post, or my some other shore excursions that might not be offered by the cruise line, X, Y, or Z. That's what we do, and we're able to do that. We're able to pull that off because of those relationships that we've been able to build because of that relationship with Virtuoso. While at the same time, we're part of Luxury Cruise Connections, is one of a few companies in the luxury travel arena under the Forest Travel umbrella. So within our group of companies, we have one of the fastest growing luxury hotel wholesalers in America. We have the only Virtuoso private jet charter brokerage firms. We actually have an entire company within our group that does private jet charters all around the world. We have, of course, Luxury Cruise Connections. We have corporate travel agency, which operates under the brand of Forest Travel. Anyway, just a whole bunch of luxury travel related firms and companies, which really what do for us is aside from creating this mindset of just upskill customer service, gives us a lot of leverage and an opportunity to really take our service to another level for our clients. I hope that I've kind of explained that easy to understand. And then we're gonna wait a few more minutes, and then we'll do proper introductions, and we'll talk a little bit more about the relationship between Luxury Cruise Connections and Regent. Is that okay with you, Nicole?
That sounds great.
Good. I have some very, very, very exciting stuff to share today, right?
Very exciting stuff to share.
I'm particularly excited about hearing all this good news about the Splendor, the newest, almost new, almost really new.
It's still new.
I think
Still new.
I think you and I were probably what the second sailing, the second inaugural or first inaugural sailing of that ship, and then it actually didn't get to sail.
Actually, that seems like years ago, but that you're absolutely right. We were one of the first ones in
it was
February. Was it 17? I don't know. That seems like such a different world ago.
Huh?
But yeah,
Amazing,
that seems right.
And
I know.
And it was February. It was February. We were having dinner with Randall Soy at the steak. Having you weren't there with us that night, were you?
Well, I was there, but I know I got off the ship after the christening event. But
Right.
you stayed on and actually sailed.
That's
so,
right.
You were one of the lucky ones. I mean, you actually, I guess you sailed before I even have had the opportunity to sail on the Splendor.
There you go. So, okay. So I'm going to start with some basic introductions, and then we'll officially kickstart our event. It's 3:04. You guys, let me do, quick intro on me. I'm Carlos Etery, and I'm the CEO of Luxury Cruise Connections. Like I was saying before, we're a full-service luxury cruise agency based in Miami, and Nicole here represents Regent 7 Seas, and Nicole will introduce herself and what she does in a minute. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Anybody that you see with a dash Luxury Cruise Connections next to their name means they are a team member of our company. And then Nicole, of course, will see dash Regent. She belongs to Regent. Now, what's going to happen today is we're going to do a short presentation. Nicole's going to do a short presentation to share with you guys everything that we know so far about the Regent restart. And throughout this presentation, and as we ask some questions, Denise, our lovely marketing manager here, please wait. She's going to be pushing some polls, some questions, so that you can kind of answer and give us an idea of, like that one exactly. Have you ever sailed with Regent 7 Seas? And so hopefully you'll be able to answer, and then we'll share the results. For example, let's see. So far, we have 42% of our attendees voted, 50% voted, and it's a split result. Basically, 41% of you, 40% of you say yes, 60% of you say no, you haven't yet, because you're about to learn a whole bunch of beautiful things about Regent. Hopefully, you're going to give it a try. And so we're going to send a couple more. That final results, 38%. Yes, 62% no. So we're gonna push some of these polls throughout our event so that we can learn a little bit about who's with us today. And then please do me a favor, and as you have questions, go ahead and ask them on the chat box that you see on this Zoom call. I'm going to type hello. So as you see that little bubble popping up at the bottom of your screen, that's where you would click to ask your questions. Type them in there. I won't interrupt Denise during her presentation, but when she's done, I'm going to make sure I read all of them. I also received some questions that were sent via email. So once we're done with the questions that were sent through the chat, I'll go over, and if we haven't already answered the questions live, then we will answer those questions that were sent via email. And then at the end, we're going to open up the mic so that we can ask some live questions as well. Today we're going to talk about, like we said, about the return to sail, and then without further ado, Nicole, I would love it if you could just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about our relationship and why our relationship is so special. Why do we love each other so much? And then take it away.
Thank you, Carlos. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Nicole Castillo, and I am the Director of Sales and Marketing for Regent Seven Seas Cruises. First off, I mean, what a wonderful turnout. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to, you know, sit down and chat with us and find out what's new with Regent Seven Seas Cruises. Thank you to Luxury Cruise Connection for giving me the opportunity to be able to connect with all of you. I mean, we have a long-standing relationship with Luxury Cruise Connection. I would say that at all levels within, you know, your organization, our organization, it just works beautifully. They're wonderful supporters of ours. I know that all of their advisors are extremely knowledgeable about Regent Seven Seas Cruises, and probably one of the most, how do I put this? Incredible advocates for their clients. I gotta say, whenever, you know, they need to fix something that doesn't seem right for their clients in terms of Regent Seven Seas, boy, are they just phenomenal for advocating for all of you. And it's just truly a pleasure to work with all of them. And I feel like you all are in wonderful hands with Luxury Cruise Connections. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so I have a lot of great information, as Carlos shared with all of you. Welcome to our past passengers. It looks like we have a good amount of past passengers here today, so that's wonderful, and a nice mix of folks that perhaps are not as familiar with Regent Seven Seas Cruises. So I'm excited to give you some information, some insight on what we're all about as well. So I did put together a short presentation just to keep me honest. I didn't want to, you know, forget to go over any important information. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And all right, can everybody see that?
Yes, so we can see your screen. Now you want to start? You want to?
Yes. I can
Okay,
see it.
perfect. Everyone can see that. Okay, wonderful. So let me start the presentation. I can just like that. Oh. All right, why isn't it?
Special welcome. I see, you know, as our number goes up to 66, I see many guests. Actually, as Denise sent that poll, it was also a little bit of a similar split, right?
43, 57.
43, 57, 57 haven't done business with us yet. So that's good. It's a good opportunity for us to get to know many of you. And I see many names that have been with us in many of these events and some recently new clients. Nicole, you see Harold in this list. He's the one that we need to get an upgrade for that we're working on. So I know Harold can hear.
Okay.
No pressure.
Hi, Harold. Way to put me on the spot. So as you can see from the header of the slide, we have a return to service plan. So such exciting news. We're so thrilled to be able to finally announce, you know, a ship, a date that we're returning to service, because as you all know, you know, it's been about 15 months that our beautiful ships have not been able to sail. So very exciting time in the history of not only our company, but in the cruise industry in terms of being able to roll out restart plans. So I think, you know, Carlos gave a little teaser as far as which will be the first ship to resume our sailings. And I don't think it's a surprise to folks that know our brand, but we are thrilled to announce that the first ship to restart services will be our newest baby, the Seven Seas Splendor. For those of you that are familiar with their brand, and as Carlos mentioned, her inaugural season was scheduled for February of 2020. So she actually just only had the ability to sail 2 passenger cruises before we voluntarily suspended our sailings. So she did not have the opportunity, we did not have the opportunity to showcase her as we would like. So we thought it would only be appropriate to restart our services with the lovely 7 Seas Splendor. And she is definitely going to be worth the wait. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Splendor, she is about 750 guests, about 54,000 tons, so still within that mid-sized ship range. In terms of the itineraries that she will begin with, I think it's important for all of you to know that we did not redeploy our itineraries for the Splendor. We basically are moving forward with itineraries that have been on the books for quite some time now. Her first sailing will be September 11th, and it will be a 11-night round trip Southampton itinerary. Now, as you can see from all the itineraries that are listed, it will give you an idea of where she will be scheduled to sail in between September through the end of November. Now, you'll notice that the majority of the sailings are blacked out. And the reason behind that is because, again, we did not redeploy her. These itineraries have been scheduled to sail for quite some time, and those that are blacked out are unfortunately sold out. However, if you were taking a wait and see approach as far as when was Regent going to announce their restart plan, and at that time we're interested in booking, there are 2 sailings available on the Splendor for this year, and those are the 2 sailings that you see highlighted in green: the 7-night Istanbul to Athens itinerary, October 28th, and then the November 4th itinerary, 7-night round trip Athens itinerary. In the following screen, as you can see, I listed the actual detailed itinerary for each of those 2 dates. The Istanbul to Athens itinerary will be going to places like Ephesus, Rhodes, Santorini, Mykonos, and then the November 4th itinerary will be overnighting in Istanbul, again going to Ephesus, Rhodes, Santorini, and arriving back into Athens. If you are interested in sailing on the 7 Seas Splendor this year, as I mentioned, these are the 2 itineraries that are available. Now, as you can see, I'm going to go back to the other side. She will be transitioning at the end of November to Miami, where she will begin her Caribbean itineraries from December through March of 2022. Those December sailings on the Splendor right now are on waitlist status, but there is availability in that first quarter itineraries in the Caribbean. Now, in terms of the waitlist status on the Splendor for December, in most cases, the reason the sailings are on waitlist is because we have committed to start with a reduced capacity. Now, if you are interested in any of those December sailings, I still encourage you to put yourself on the wait list, because as those capacity restrictions ease up, we begin clearing based on that priority wait list. So I wanted to make sure to mention that. You may be asking yourself, what is the status of our other 4 beautiful ships? And I can share with you that at this time, I don't have information as far as what the future holds for the other sailings. I will say that we are reintroducing our ships in a methodical way. We are phasing them in. Our goal is not to rush this. Obviously, we want to get back in the water, but I think more importantly, we want to do it the right way. We want to make sure that it is safe for our guests, our crew, and the communities that we visit. And we feel that the best approach in doing this is making sure that we phase in these ships. You know, once we see it's been successful, come in and phase the others, and so forth. Okay, so be on the lookout. We should have more information soon as far as which will be the next ships that we phase in. Now, when we resume sailing, and I'm glad I included this slide because some of you are not familiar with Regent, in terms of our all-inclusive nature, what I like to say, where we hang our hat, so to speak, none of that will change. We are committed to resuming our ships in a manner where the experience is not being is not going to be affected. So in terms of all the inclusions that we offer, like the free business class air for intercontinental flights, the free unlimited shore excursions, you know, prepaid gratuity, specialty dining, that will all still be included. Nothing's changed. As a matter of fact, we've actually included more amenities, such as the free valet laundry service. So when we resume sailing, we will include free laundry service for all of our guests, no matter what category they are booked in. Now, shifting gears here to health and safety protocols, we have always been dedicated to providing our guests and crew with the ability to travel and enjoy the world while doing everything to make voyages as safe as possible. Nothing's changed. We had just enhanced our commitment to health and safety with our Sail Safe program. So the program was led by Dr. Scott Gottlieb. For those of you that are not familiar with him, he served as the 23rd Commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And as you can see, there was several folks involved in who we consulted with. Many in the expertise areas of infectious disease, maritime operations, and whatnot. But I'm thrilled to be able to share with you our multi-layered approach to health and safety protocols once we resume sailing. We truly feel that it's not just one thing that will help make it safe for our guests and crew and the communities we visit. It's multiple things. So I'm going to quickly go over and I'll elaborate in some that I feel need to be elaborated. And again, if you have any questions, be sure to include them in the chat box. So most recently, we announced that we are going to be requiring all of our guests and crew to be fully vaccinated at least 2 weeks prior to sailing. So initially, this is something that we will require. We are also going to be requiring universal testing for all guests and crew. And what this means is upon embarkation, we're going to conduct an antigen test for our guests. And in order to board, they would be required to have a negative COVID-19 test. And then upon disembarkation, we will conduct the same test as well. This is going to be covered by the cruise line. There's also going to be additional pre-embarkation health screening where is going to be, you're going to be able to complete information from the comfort of your own home prior to arriving to the pier. We are what we're calling socially responsible check-in. So when you receive your documents, you are going to receive a designated time frame to arrive at the pier. And we're doing that in order to stagger the embarkation process in order to avoid any type of crowding or waits or whatnot. Another health and safety protocol that we recently announced is the requirement of face coverings. So to begin with, this is going to be a requirement, which I'll get into a little bit later as far as what areas and whatnot. I know that recently there's been, the CDC has released some flexibility as far as face coverings for guests who are for folks that are fully vaccinated. We have not made any updates yet to our health and safety protocols as it pertains to their recent announcement. So as of right now, unless we receive any further updates, face coverings will be required. And again, I'll go into that a little bit later. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we are committing to reducing our capacity to begin with. And in terms of the next area that we focused on was safety on board our ships. And this is the area where technology is just amazing in terms of, what we're doing to make our ships safe for our guests. In terms of one of the technologies that we recently partnered up with was Atmos Air Solutions. And basically it's a continuous disinfection air purification system. And we're implementing this on board all of our 5 ships. And I know our sister brand, Norwegian Cruise Lines and Oceania, will be doing the same. But basically, the technology works by releasing ions through the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. And the ions bond with the virus, break it down. And so again, it tracks the virus, breaks it down, whatever's on the air and the surface. And between that technology and us upgrading our air filtration system to medical grade systems, we feel that the air that you will be breathing on board our ships will not only be safe, but COVID-free as well. Now, we've also enhanced our onboard medical teams and health facilities. So we increased the medical team to guest ratio on board our ships when we resume sailing, and we are adding a dedicated public health officer. on board all of our ships as well. This is a new role for our brand, and they will handle all aspects of health and safety protocols, not only on board the ships, but of course for shore excursions and whatnot. In terms of other things that we will be doing and are prepared to do, should somebody in a situation test positive for COVID-19 while on board, we are prepared to handle that situation through various ways, including isolation and quarantine rooms, as well as contact tracing. And then we have, we're working on disembarkation scenarios and for circumstances like that as well. Okay, so like I said, multi-layered approach to health and safety protocols. So I wanted to just go over some, frequently asked questions in certain areas of health and safety protocols. One of them being a question surrounding vaccines. What vaccines will be accepted to cruise on initial voyages? And I will share that the vaccines that have been authorized for emergency use by the World Health Organization, as well as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration or the European Medicines Agencies, will be the vaccines that we are able to accept in order to cruise with us. In terms of face coverings, these are going to be required in areas where social distancing is not possible. So if we see that there's crowding, and again, this is hard for me to kind of paint the picture, because in reality, I've sailed on board many, many times with our ships, and I know that some of you have as well, a lot of you have, and there's not a lot of crowding in our area on board our ships, because there's no more than 750 guests, and we've always been known to have one of the best guest to space ratios. But there are certain areas that we see more folks than not. In order to, in a circumstance where we've seen that, face coverings may be required. But in areas like, for example, the dining room or out on the pool deck, face coverings will not be required. And of course, we will modify that accordingly. Another question that I get asked is surrounding shore excursions, more specifically, independent shore excursions. And at this time, we anticipate that guests may travel ashore independently. We are not going to require our guests to take our shore excursions, even though most folks do take our shore excursions because they're included. That's a wonderful benefit that we have to offer. But again, if somebody wants to tour a particular area on their own, that is something that they're able to do. So we don't anticipate having to require them to go on our shore excursions. For more information on keeping up to date with health and safety protocols as it pertains to our brand, of course, everyone at Luxury Cruise Connections is very well informed of our health and safety protocols. They're a wonderful resource, but we also have this information listed on our website. Now, shifting gears here to just more exciting news and just some dates to remember. And this is truly an indication of our wonderful industry just moving forward. So I'm excited to share we are moving forward with the third Explorer class ship. So she is being built and she is scheduled to sail in the fourth quarter of 2023. But hard to believe that we're talking about a 2023 itineraries or ships, but it will be here before we know it. But what's exciting is next month, we will be announcing her name. So be on the lookout for that. And then later, a couple months later in September, we will be announcing her itineraries as well, those initial inaugural voyages. Also, if we have any guests that are interested in our wonderful world cruises, we will be announcing the opening for reservations for our 2024 world cruise mid-July, as well as we will have a major itinerary launch. So itineraries right now are available through April of 2023. Come mid-August of this year, we will release itineraries for May of 2023 into April of 2024. And I want to encourage all of you, if you're waiting for any of these launches, that you don't sleep on it, because we are seeing, I think Carlos mentioned this earlier in the call, the demand out there is just mind-boggling. It's just so amazing to see how many avid cruisers there are out there, and how we appreciate so much their patience and their resilience. And we are anticipating a very successful itinerary launch for both our World Cruise as well as our full year itinerary launch that I mentioned also. So if you're interested in more...
How long did it take Regent to sell out their 2023?
So our 2020, good question. Our 2023 World Cruise sold out within a day and a half. We were just in the mid, and we released it in July of last year, in the hype of the pandemic, with so much unknown, and we were just blown away by the result. We didn't know what to expect, and we were just blown away by the results of our 2000. As a matter of fact, our 2023 World Cruise, we normally open up segments for our World Cruises, but that was such a success that we will not be opening up segments for our 2023 World Cruise because it's been sold out, the ship fully.
Full ship sold out as a World Cruise. Imagine. I think that's the first time in history. And
yes.
And the anticipation for the 2024 is great. I mean, I know it's very far out, but you know, what we normally do, just in case if anybody's interested, okay, is we're going to ask our guests to let us know that you're interested in signing up for the 2024. We take names, we take information, and then we'll wake up very early on that launch day and get you all booked up before everybody else does. And then we'll talk financials later. But the idea is to get your name in, because otherwise it's, you know, imagine a day and a half, so many people were left out from that 2023. It's crazy. And they're on wait list. So,
yep.
Sorry, we'll talk about that later. We'll make sure to share this with our guests a few days before the launch so that everybody's ready and we have all that information ready to go for when you launch.
Perfect. And as we get closer in, Carlos, of course, I'll give you exact dates on launch dates and whatnot, so you're prepared to book anyone who's ready when we launch those open for reservations. So I want to, coming towards the end of, you know, my slideshow here, but I wanted to, as a thank you for joining today's call and for not only the support that you give Luxury Cruise Connections, but also Regent 7 Seas Cruises, I have an exclusive event offer that I've set up for Luxury Cruise Connection, and it is a savings offer. And basically, the offer is savings up to $2,000 per suite on any 2021-2023 voyage that is booked starting today through June 3rd. So it's a 2-week booking window, and it is only applicable for new reservations booked within that 2-week booking window. And the amount of savings will depend on the number of nights that you booked, as well as the category that you are reserving as well. So for example, if you're looking for that $2,000 savings, that will apply to sailings that are 30 or more nights in the penthouse suites and above categories. So the minimum amount of savings that you're going to receive under this promotion will be $300. The maximum amount will be $2,000 per suite. But what's wonderful about this offer, it's combinable with our newest offer, which was announced early May. It's our Upgrade in Europe promotion, which is a free 2-category suite upgrade on a good amount of our 2022 Europe voyages. So the savings would come off of the category in which you book, and then we will upgrade you accordingly. So if you want any information as far as reserving a new reservation on this promotion, please contact your Luxury Cruise Connection advisor. They're very familiar with this promotion. But again, my appreciation to you for joining us and hopefully generating some excitement for you to book a new Regent 7 Seas cruise reservation.
Quick reinforcement message there. If you can go back real quick to the exclusive offer. Remember when we sent out the invitation for the event, we specifically said that we had a secret savings offer. This is, you know, Regent is a luxury brand, and they protect the integrity of their brand very, very well. And so we weren't able, and we're not able to advertise this because this is exclusive, really exclusive to us. There's you know, the only way to have access to this is by seeing it on this event. We cannot publish this anyway, right? So it is important for you guys to know this. It's definitely like, you know, flat out savings. But what is also important is to understand why Regent is doing this for us. There's two reasons. One, because of our very strong relationship and this very unique relationship, and allowing us to offer special and added value to our clients that otherwise not many people can do. But also because Regent they're in a campaign to, you know, obviously for as much as demand that there is out there, to really get new business in the books, okay? So it is important for everybody to understand that this offer is meant and was designed specifically for new bookings, to attract new bookings. If you've been booked on a Regent, if you have a booking with Regent right now, you got to realize that you probably already have a very strong pricing, which you had some time ago. Pricing as of today has already increased about 20% throughout the entire pricing list. And so this, you know, we know that new pricing is that much more expensive. And so Regent is giving us this only for new bookings. Okay, it is very, very important that I share this with you. They were very hesitant on giving us this very strong promotion because obviously they didn't want to create confusion for anybody that was previously booked. But if you were previously booked and you had an opportunity to take advantage of pricing that was available a month ago, then know you probably have a better deal. This is applicable to current pricing. Okay, it is important to mention that. So
Good point.
with that, I want to open up some questions. I see Harold is raising his hand. I don't mind starting a little bit different than I normally do, and we might let's let Harold ask the question, and then I'll go over with the questions that I have on the chat. Sounds good. So Harold, why don't we go ahead and unmute you? First of all, thank you for being here, Harold.
It's a pleasure. I just say thank you. Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay, so I just have two questions. The first regarding the dedicated public health officer. Will that person or persons be available to the passengers, or do you have to go through medical to get hold of them? If there's a concern, can you have direct access to the dedicated public health officer?
Very good question. I'm assuming that you will be able to, but that's something that I'm gonna have to get back to you. So Carlos, I'll follow up with you and let you know so you can get back to Harold on that.
Okay, and the second question is, I'm very pleased to hear that you're offering these additional incentives like laundry, etc. But that does have an impact on the passengers who have had a long cruise, many cruises, and it reduces the opportunities that they have on their number of days, because that used to be an incentive. So now it's no longer an incentive, it's with everybody. So what are the incentives that have been added to people that have cruised 90 to 120 days with you?
Yeah. So, you know, naturally, whenever we decide what new inclusions we're going to add, or any decisions that we make, we always take into considerations our most loyal passengers. And we did this in this case as well. I know that for our gold and above guests, we, as a goodwill gesture, because we know that it's something that they were already receiving, we added a shipboard credit. So it's something, certainly it's not to replace this amenity, but it was just a token to let all of you know that you were thought of when we made this decision. So it's something that's automatic. It's a new concession that when past passengers that are gold and above make a reservation, shipboard credit is automatically added to their account. And I believe it's $100 shipboard credit.
Yeah, but the thing is that another area that you've now got special timing for passengers to board. That was another incentive that's been taken away as well. So you're reducing, you're reducing these incentives to the loyal passengers. I mean, we'll always still be loyal, but it was very nice to have these added things to know that because you were loyal, you got these. So $100 shipboard credit doesn't mean anything really, with due respect.
Right.
you know.
No, I
So I think you
understand,
should,
and I
I'm just
hear you.
suggesting that you should take a look and be careful how you decentivize the loyal passengers.
Understood. I completely understand where you're coming from. And like I say, I can't stress enough that every decision we make, we always take into account our loyal guests. And by all means, the $100 shipboard credit was not to compensate. It was more a gesture to let you know, hey, we thought of you when we made this decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good point. Thank you. Thank you, Hara. That was a good point. Okay, so we have many more questions here in the chat box. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get to them real quick. Okay, so Michelle Carroll wants to know, and I know those that have been in Regent before know the answer, but just for those that haven't, how many guests do we normally have on a Regent ship? Basic question.
Yeah, sure. So no more than 750 guests, and it's going to vary per ship. Our most intimate ship carries no more than 490 guests, and then with the Voyager and the Mariner carrying no more than 700, and then the Splendor, Explorer, and the new Explorer class ship will be no more than 750 guests.
Good, good.
And I just want to elaborate about the number of guests and the size of our ships. We are not necessarily small ships. We are considered mid-sized ships in the cruise industry. Where you're going to find when you board our ships is that we're smaller, like I mentioned, the number of guests. So when I talk about guest to space ratio, we have one of the best in the industry, as well as guest to crew ratio, which goes along the lines of the very personalized service that you receive on board our ships, because we have one of the best guest to crew ratios in the industry.
Okay. So Nicole, what, and I know that there's so much and so much you can share, but Paul is asking us, do you foresee the loosening of all current COVID safety protocols in 2022?
I can't say I foresee. I will say that where it makes sense, we will ease up, with the guidance of, of course, the CDC, if it's US sailings, depending on what, the circumstances look from a public health front, in 2022. Again, the goal is to go back to the experience that our guests are accustomed to. And that is always going to be the goal, but naturally things have been, have changed from a public health front, and we have to adapt. I don't know. I don't know if I foresee, that's such a good question. Do you foresee, Carlos, what do you think? What do you see in the industry?
Yeah, I'm going to give you my opinion. I think that is going to be very much based on, I think the countries are going to drive a lot of that decision making. I think that, we are seeing how quickly the CDC continues to change their guidance based on the risk that exists at any given moment, right? So I think that humanity right now, the world already realized that COVID is not just going to go away, right? COVID is going to be around for a long time, but it's about reducing the risk and about reducing the risk of catching it, but most importantly, the risk of actually getting sick, right? And that risk is going to be measured both on obviously effectiveness of vaccines, but also caseloads around the world. And so my prediction when it comes to this is the decision of softening or loosening current COVID protocols is going to be based on where the ship visits. And that's what's that's what 2022 is going to look like, in my opinion. Example, if somebody has a trip planned for a part of the world, maybe India, right? Who knows? Where the risk might be relatively higher, then I wouldn't be surprised if those particular itineraries might have some particular COVID protocols so that they can visit those ports. Or what could also happen is cruise lines might make a determination and replan some of their future sailings so that they can allow the guests to have the best possible experience. And so, as we get to 2022, if you think about how we felt about wearing masks back in April 2020, it was crazy, right? It was very uncomfortable. Nobody wanted to wear them. Still, a lot of people don't want to wear them, but today, most people are kind of relatively used to it. More people are like, okay, it is what it is. I wear it and I'm used to it, right? You know, it's based on what people feel like at the time. So if Regent considers that come 2022, people don't feel comfortable with X, Y, or Z, or you have to have certain protocols to be able to visit a certain destination, then they might just change them. I think it's a hard question to answer, but I predict that as life on land continues to loosen up COVID protocols, then life on board ships is going to follow right behind it, and so that's just my best prediction.
Yeah, good. And I agree. And look how quickly things are changing even now with the recent, loosening up restrictions like on land. So I mean, from here till September, so much can change. But I can only share with you what I know for sure now.
Yeah. I think the question is, will some cruise lines continue to keep an itinerary that touches a country that has high caseloads, right? Will they then say, well, you have to be fully vaccinated and wear a mask, or will they just say, well, we're not going to go there? Who knows? But we're probably, I would imagine that we're going to still see a little bit of that. What I do think, by the way, everybody, this is very, very important. What I do think that will never ever change again is cruise lines' level of cleanliness and health protocols, and this is I think it's gonna stay forever and ever. So when you get back on board the ships come September, October, November, you guys are gonna see a lot of extra people cleaning and the air conditioning filters and this and that. We might not see social distancing anymore. We might not see mask wearing, but I would predict that you're still going to see the same level of cleanliness, tracking, medical facilities on board. All that stuff will stay in place for a long time, many, many years. Jackie's asking, where countries on your itineraries require quarantine upon arrival, a negative test within 72 hours of arrival? How will Regent handle this with its guests? Multiple tests within 72 hours of arrival to such ports. Example, mid-cruise. Port visits are for a day or at most overnight. So quarantining does not make sense. That's a good question. What's your answer to that, Nicole?
Yeah. So we're running into that situation, I know, with even that first sailing where the UK has a certain alert right now, where I believe that in order to go into the UK, you have to have a 10-day quarantine. But, through our local contacts, obviously we made the decision to move forward with the Splendor, anticipating that things like that are going to be lifted. Again, very fluid situation. And, if there's still uncertainty, I mean, the goal is to be flexible with our guests, In terms of requiring a negative test within 72 hours of arrival, we will, of course, if a particular location is requiring that, we will, of course, coordinate through your travel advisor, that this is going to be required, and give you enough time in advance notice in order to be able to, fulfill something like that. But in terms of the quarantine, that's something, again, things are moving so quickly. I know that we had wonderful news, although it's not, it's just a conversation right now. It's being voted on with the Europe Union being able to open up for the summer for everyone, for folks who have been vaccinated to come in. So a lot of positive developments. And like I said, we don't sail until September, and things are moving so quickly that we are anticipating that we are going to be in a completely different circumstance, as well as the areas of the world that we're going to visit to begin with between now and September. But something we're always watching, very fluid. I hate that word. I dislike that word, I should say. I don't think I ever want to use it after all of this, but the fact of the matter is it's a true statement.
No, and this is what I think we need to know at this point. Cruise ships, Regents, are going to have testing facilities on board, right? You're going to be able to get tested on board. right? Now, this is not necessarily right now meant for you to be being tested every single day or anything like that. But for example, right now, to come back to the United States, you are required to be tested within 72 hours, right? If you're coming back to the United States right after the ship, Regent is prepared to make sure that you're covered when it comes to getting tested so you can come back to the United States. Same thing when it comes to getting to ports. To answer your question more directly, Jack, if you need to be tested to be able to get off on a particular port, and that happens to still be the case by the time you sail, Regent's gonna have that covered. Don't worry about that, they have that covered, okay? Most likely though, what we're seeing is the trend being, if you're vaccinated, then you don't have to get tested or show the proof of a negative COVID test. And so since these ships are gonna be fully vaccinated anyway, then you're gonna be covered. But the one thing you can be sure of is that the logistics of you being able to have an impeccable experience are going to be taken care of. Even though there might be stuff that we don't know today or cannot even predict because things are changing quickly, they're gonna be covered. So that would be the least of my concerns. By the way, I do wanna say something real quick. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but as we were having this presentation today, we just heard that the US House of Representatives passed the bill to allow Alaska season to take place.
Oh, wonderful. See, there you go. Excellent news and heading in the direction we need.
That's really good because I know many of you here might have had or were thinking about going to Alaska. You were all worried about, well, how will we be able to have an Alaska season without being able to stop in Canada? Well, this law that passed today, already through the Senate and the House, will allow ships to now sail from Seattle to Alaska without having to touch Canada. Now we just need the other piece of news from the CDC allowing ships to depart from Seattle, but I think that's on its way too. So anyway, let's stay focused, Steve. Stay focused, Steve. Okay. Not open to mask requirements. I get that, Stephen. I'm booked on the Montreal to Miami season of the Sun Cruise sailing this October. Canada is still off limits. Does Regent have a plan B for this cruise if Canada doesn't open up soon enough? Will you cancel the cruise or just modify the itinerary?
I think both are being looked at, whether we modify or do we suspend altogether and offer other opportunities. But at this time, nothing's been firmed up. But we realize that we're getting closer and closer to that October date, and Canada has not, lifted. I know that they're behind us here in the States as far as their vaccine rollout. But at this time, I can't answer your question because I honestly don't know, but I know that we are looking closely at other options.
Good. I mean, Stephen, if you want an unofficial opinion, and I can only give opinions because I don't work for Regent, is once Regent gets back to sailing, okay, they're going to want to keep as many of those ships as full, well, not as full as possible, but they want to keep them going. Okay, so this is a Montreal to Miami. It's because that ship needs to be positioned in Miami at some point. That ship is going to have to go south to the East Coast. So, you're probably definitely going to see changes there. My prediction is that that Canada is not going to be open. That's my best bet. But I think there's going to be an alternative that we can be able to work out for you because something's going to be there. That ship is going to have to come south. Do you agree, Nicole?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I mean, like I said, I haven't heard any insight as far as are we going to suspend altogether, but I think we're getting closer to that October date. I don't see Canada lifting that restriction. And keep in mind, folks, we take a very conservative approach on suspensions because once you suspend those sailings, there's no going back. So it's not our intention to just leave you hanging. I think we're just exhausting all options before we make that very important decision to suspend, because once you suspend, not only is there's no going back, but it causes a lot of disappointment, which is not the intention at all. But be on the lookout here soon because we should have some more information surrounding those itineraries.
I have a question via private message here. How will Regent handle seating for the shows?
So that is a specific question that I don't have the answer to yet. But we should have more information on that again once we get closer to that first sailing in September. But that's one of the ones that I just don't have the answer to right now.
So allow me to share with our guests a little bit of what I've been hearing throughout the industry in general. And yes, we might not have a specific answer for Regent, but I'll share with everybody a little bit what I've been hearing. So what some cruise lines are going to be doing is, instead of having either 1 time or 2 times for shows, they're going to have 3 times for shows, so that they can have less people per show. And then they're going to be able to sit people a little bit more separate from each other that way. And so that people don't actually have to be wearing a mask throughout the entire show, because they're going to be able to social distance. So I don't know if that's exactly what Regent has planned, but I'm sure it's going to be something similar.
And also keep in mind, to begin with, that reduced capacity. So, and the reason for that reduced capacity, I mean, there's multiple reasons why, but an example like that, so it's just, we want to make sure to begin with, we can do it in a safe way and with as least restrictions as possible for our guests. And if we can figure out a way to do these shows where guests can be seated, with a certain amount of distance where they're not going to be required to wear their mask, and absolutely that's the route we're going to go.
I have a question from Dennis. Check in at a specific time can be problematic as we arrive on your air, booking most of us, and after your transfer. So will those of us who have a lower cabin class will have to wait it out somewhere? I assume that we can check in when Regent gets us to the port, yes?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question. And keep in mind, we have the ability, because we're arranging, if you're booking our air and our transfers, to coincide your check-in time. We take that all into consideration. So again, the goal is to not inconvenience our guests, and that will all be taken into consideration when we come up with, your designated check-in time.
I have another question via private message. It says, how will the cruise line verify that passengers have complied and have indeed complied with this rule? And I would imagine we're talking about the vaccination rule. What do you know, Nicole, so far? I know there's a little bit up in the air on this still, but what do you know so far?
As far as specifics like that, we have not been given information as far as how we are going to verify, that passengers have been fully vaccinated. I know that when you're vaccinated, you're given, your vaccine card. I would assume that would be something that would need to be submitted, to us prior. But again, I'm just going by assumption. I would think that would be it, but we have not laid out that direction just yet.
There's been a lot of talking.
What are the others doing?
Yeah, I think no cruise line has made an official announcement on that specific piece. There's CLIA, IATA, and many travel organizations are working on digital vaccine passports. But will they be ready by the time ships get in the water? I don't know. My best guess when it comes to that is that I would imagine that cruise lines, to an extent, are going to trust that people are presenting valid and legit documents and the CDC card. For as much as it not being a very hard to forge document, I guess to a point, there's going to be a level of trust that people are just presenting valid and real documents. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if at one point, a cruise lines state that presenting, that you have to, I guess, swear that the documents you're presenting are legit and so forth, and sign terms and conditions, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. In any case, I believe there's going to always be a little bit of a margin when it comes to that. And I think that cruise lines are going to end up being okay with it. Because I believe that cruise lines, as long as you have at least more than 95% people vaccinated on board your ships, then the risk is so minimum that people are going to end up being okay with it. I think we'll know. So Sylvain is saying Canada has returned many visitors with false vaccine certificates. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I think that there's always going to be that. I think there's always going to be that. But I think it's going to feel a little bit different when you're actually going to have to get on board ships and have to abide by international laws. And it's one thing when you're in a free country or like the United States and people have certain rights, and it's a different thing when you're traveling around the world and laws about lying about your vaccination certificate might just be a little bit different. So I don't know how open people are going to be about falsifying documents on when going to Europe or some places. We'll see. There's still a lot of unknown when it comes to that. That's the truth.
Yeah.
We do know that cruise lines are not dumb, that they've been preparing for this for a long time, and that they have huge department of very smart people figuring this thing out. So I'm putting my faith on the cruise lines to figure it out. That's all I can say.
And again, we have time, and that's part of the reason of why I know some of the others are starting sooner than us, but that's part of the reason why we made a decision to start in September versus sooner, just to make sure there's still a lot of things that we need to pan out.
I have a guest, actually 2 guests, believe it or not, that emailed the same question, and they want you to talk about solo fares, solo travel and fares. I mean, we got some people that want to go solo. What do we have on that arena?
So get with your advisor and have them contact me, and I will email them the list so they can communicate with you of all the sailings in which we're offering reduced single supplement rates on. So we certainly do have a promotion for our solo travelers, and it's on select sailings in which we're offering that reduced single supplement rate. So I'm not quite sure which of the 2 answered that question, but make sure you speak with your luxury Cruise Connection advisor and have them reach out to me so I can email them that list and they can send it to you.
That was Susan Sylvan and Kevin Campbell. We're going to email you the list of solo fares. But I guess the short answer is there are some real good solo fares on specific dates. So we'll share the list with you. Hopefully you can choose one of them. But then if not, then normally it's going to be just 200% of the fare, right? Or 100% of the fare. Marge, we're booked on a Regent cruise to Caribbean and Brazil in November 2021. But now we don't feel safe going to Brazil or flying home from there because of COVID developments since we booked it. Is Regent planning on any changes to the itineraries or rescheduling? When would we be informed? That's the first part of the question.
I can tell you, you'll always be informed, and we have been informing I believe in a timely manner to any itinerary suspensions or changes. But I will say that, again, be on the lookout to see, if we make any changes to that particular itinerary. But if it's something that you do not feel comfortable going, and for sure you will not proceed with that itinerary, my recommendation would be, because of the demand that we're seeing for 2022, don't wait to see what we're going to do with that sailing. I would, at this point, contact your advisor and work with them in moving it perhaps to another option.
Yeah, you always have, so the second part of the question is, what are our options? And so the first thing that you want to know is whether you're deposited or fully paid. You should know that there is a policy that gives you a lot of flexibility so that you can make a decision on whether or not you want to travel or feel safe about traveling. Even, Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, 30 days prior, is it? For under
Regent Reassurance?
Yes.
So we have Regent Reassurance in place right now, but it's only for sailings through October 31st. And what Regent Reassurance is once you've paid in full, you can cancel up to 15 days prior to sailing, and we issue a 100% future cruise credit of what you've paid that you can then apply it to another sailing that sails before December 31st of 2022. But so your particular sailing, I believe you said it was in November, it wouldn't fall under Regent Reassurance, but to Carlos' point, we would have to review your particular reservation and see where you are. Typically, depending, again, I don't know if you have FCCs on this reservation or whatnot, but typically you should be only within admin penalties, in which if you do transfer those admin penalties to another, if you do book a new sailing, those admin penalties get transferred to the new sailing. But again, we would have to look at your reservation individually to see.
Okay, so Marge, please let us know. We're gonna follow up with you on that. I'm gonna write it down here. We're gonna follow up with you on that, but please, definitely let us know what you feel you want to do, because we wanna make sure that we take care of you, and figure out a way to make sure you feel safe. I wanna use this opportunity that we're talking about this to also mention travel insurance, guys. If you are traveling anywhere on anything, you need to be getting travel insurance. Travel insurance is not only going to cover you for anything that might happen during the trip, but also pre-trip as well. And your investment in your travel is going to be protected if anything were to go wrong, on as long as it's one of the covered reasons. Of course, covered reasons have to do with unexpected circumstances, right? So travel insurance is for unexpected circumstances. Regent Reassurance Program, which is what Nicole is talking about, has more to do with voluntary changes or voluntary cancellations. And again, that applies only for sailings up to October 31st. And so for that November sailing, just reach out to us and we'll look at your specific case, okay? I have another question here that was sent to us via email, and I'm gonna go back to the chat box, okay? Any thoughts on Asia itineraries? Suez, Israel, a little scary right now.
So again, we're always monitoring situations in the places that we're visiting. Should it not be safe for our guests and crew to visit these areas for whatever reason, whether not just COVID-19 related, but other circumstances, then of course we will have to, and that's the beauty of being in the water. We have the ability to, pivot and, perhaps move to a different destination. But right now I don't have any information as far as the future of those sailings. But again, we have to see what the circumstance, how much of their population. I think when you look at if a sailing or a season is viable, there's so many things you have to take into consideration, but the main one being, what does it look like as far as how much of their population has been vaccinated? I think that's going to definitely be key. And it may be too soon for us to determine that for itineraries like Asia. Although I know we're in there in October. Now we're in there, so it just give us a little bit of time. And again, we take all that into consideration, and we will let you know once a decision has been made in those sailings.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that once we're past this craziness of COVID, you're gonna, since the beginning of cruising time, cruise lines have changed their itineraries, even last minute sometimes, based on specific needs, right? So, that's the norm of cruising. If you're booked on an itinerary that happens to be touching a place that we cannot go for whatever reason, then, I don't think we're going to see massive cancellations like what we're seeing today. But, expect a little bit of those changes to continue to happen throughout the rest of the year, especially with a little bit of what's going on in different parts of the world. Question here from Jack. How far in advance of the 2024 World Cruise launch in mid-July will Regent publish the itinerary for review consideration?
So we usually release that itinerary, I want to say within a week prior to the launch. So we, of course, communicated to our travel advisors. We also, that brochure will drop in your mail a few days prior to sailing. But I would say about 7 days prior to that launch date, we share with you that particular itinerary. But again, contact your advisor, you know, if you are interested in the world cruise, just so they know and they can bookmark it and know to follow up with me and get an accurate date and information on that launch.
Yeah, yeah, count on that, Jack. I'm gonna make sure that well, Steve is gonna make sure he's gonna send you that information as soon as we get it. It's gonna be prior to the launch. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Karen is asking us: is there a link on Regent's site for all the sailings with reduced or no single supplement? Karen, we'll make sure you get that list from one of us. Okay, one of us at our company is going to send you this information. Count on it. Okay. I'm gonna write it down here to make sure that we don't forget. But somebody's gonna send that over to you. Okay, count on it. Is reduced passengers exercised by keeping cabins empty? If so, then solo travelers should not be charged a supplement. Just assign a cabin otherwise empty, as long as total is reduced. Good point.
Good point, and I'll make sure to take that feedback to my team. But I think it's going to be a combination. It's in, you know, increasing, again, we committed to increasing our onboard medical crew. So that's going to require, you know, use of accommodation. So I think it's going to be a combination of, and again, I don't have a number as far as how much we're going to reduce capacity, but keep in mind, it's definitely not going to be as much as some of the other lines, because again, we have the advantage of not having to reduce as much because of going back to that guest to space ratio that we have.
Good.
But I'll definitely take back that suggestion.
Good. Good. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, I don't have any more questions in the chat. We were able to go through them relatively quickly, but this is when I love to, you know, to just have an opportunity and open up the mics. Anybody that has a question that you might want to ask live, this is the time to do so. Nicole, you know, we don't get an opportunity to get Nicole on the Zoom calls all too often. So if you have any specific question that you want to ask, you know, please, this is when I'd love for you to just let me know, raise your hand, and then we can open it up. Yeah, we've covered a lot. All right, Jan, go ahead and unmute you real quick. So wait, we cannot hear you yet.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, question. On the ambassador program, I had a cruise that was cross-referenced with another one, but they canceled. And I think you have to book it within like 14 days. Is that going to be waived if I get another Regent cruise that was sold by or talked up by my client?
So, so you have a past passenger that referred a new to Regent guest. And
Yes.
for those of you that are not familiar with our ambassador program, in a scenario like that, we give the past passenger a $250 future cruise credit, or, you know, which equates to a savings. And then we also give the guest that they referred, the new to Regent guest, $250 future cruise certificate as well. But it sounds like your particular scenario, the one they referred, canceled.
Yes.
So they still have the opportunity, because remember, the 14-day booking period pertains to the folks that they referred. So they still have the opportunity to utilize that program by, you know, referring other guests. But when those guests book, you have to register for the program within 14 days of that new to Regent guest booking.
Thank you for that clarification.
Welcome. Good question.
Good. Okay, I was on a world cruise 2020 that ended due to COVID, 2/3 of the way. I just rebooked for 2023. The itinerary is the same as the proposed itinerary pre-COVID. Looks like cruise lines are not making new plans yet. Many Asian ports of call still on the planned route. Not only Asian ports of call, also Australia and New Zealand, which have very, very strong COVID restrictions right now. But look, you know, if we pay attention to what has happened in the last 3 weeks, you know, I remember when the beginning, I remember the beginning of the pandemic, I cannot wait for when we start getting this good news, and we're finally there, right? I mean, we're finally getting good news almost every other day. And are we 100% there yet? No, but things continue to look good. Things continue to move in the right direction. So expect for things to, to continue to change around the world, and also know that if they happen to not, then the expectation is for those ports to change, right? To change. Got a live question from Bob. Bob, how you doing? Thank you for being here. I know you recently became a new guest for us at Luxury Cruise Connection, so appreciate that very much. How you doing today? Want to make sure you unmute yourself, Bob. If my memory serves me well, Bob was with us on some of our previous Zoom events as well. I think Bob was having connection issues. Maybe?
Is he muted? Is it maybe he didn't realize he's muted? I can't see.
I think he fell off. It's okay.
I don't know where he is in our Brady Bunch screen.
Some cruise lines are not allowing back-to-back cruises. Is Regent?
Yeah, we are not. We don't have any restrictions in terms of back-to-back cruises.
Yeah, Ava, some of the cruise lines that were restricting back-to-back cruises, for example, Celebrity, they did that. They came out with that restriction recently. They now are allowing back-to-back. So as all this, as the CDC continues to modify their guidance, these cruise lines are almost on a weekly basis modifying theirs as well. And so, well, we now know, Nicole, that Regent wasn't one of the cruise lines that did this, but most of the cruise lines that did have that restriction are now lifting it. Okay. Okay, so if Bob gets back to the screen, then I'll unmute him. But in the meantime, does anybody else have any other question? Anybody else have any other question? Let's see, we covered. Regent reassurance, we covered. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any questions on future cruise credits? Here's a good one. For example, nobody's asked this. I'm surprised though. Your future cruise credits need to be used by December 31st of 2022. Okay. If you're currently holding future cruise credits with Regent, please make sure you're using them for travel before 2022, before the end of 2022. Okay, this is very, very important. Okay. Anybody has any other questions about FCCs?
And again, the sooner, just to, really emphasize what Carlos just said, the sooner you can park that FCC, the better, because again, we're just seeing a continued trend of space becoming more and more limited, with a combination of the suspensions we've had, us not sailing for 15 months, and just the demand that's out there. So I encourage you absolutely to park that. The sooner the better. Yeah.
I want to I want to talk about that also just a little bit, Nicole. We're seeing an incredible level of demand, which has kept us very busy. But one of the things that has probably kept us busy the most is the fact that it just takes us forever to find availability for clients, because availability is very limited, right? When you used to be able to plan a trip a year in advance and find the cabin that you liked, now, and this is very, very relevant for Regent guests, right? Because the typical Regent guest knows what cabin they want, knows where they want to be. They're not willing to give up comfort for money. You know exactly where you want to be, and so it's been a challenge, because that's why you're opening up 2024 so far in advance. I don't think you've ever opened up 2024 a world cruise 3 years prior. It's never been the case, and it's just because availability is just really, really filling up very quickly. So if you're what I like to tell people is under the current circumstances, where there's such a flexibility with your deposits and so forth, you know, give yourself the choice. You're putting money, when you're putting money down or a deposit on a particular cruise or a booking, you're basically giving yourself the choice to decide. Because if you don't, then you're just not going to have that choice, because availability is not going to be there further down the line. The expectation and the trends, if you follow all these reports, you know, the cruise credit reports and all these reports that come out about consumer sentiment, the numbers just continue to go up. There's no expectation for demand to drop off anytime soon. So just, you know, at one point it'll level off, but the expectation is for it to continue to go up. So just encourage you highly to just select something that you might want, and then wait it out and see. You know, wait it out and see. Let's see, what other questions do we have out there? What other questions do we have out there? We covered 2024. We covered. Do we have a name for the new ship, Nicole?
In June.
In June.
So
I'm
next
sorry,
month.
You did say that.
Right.
I apologize. You did say that. In June, we're
Yes.
unveiling the new ship. Imagine, you know, just imagine the fact that you're going to be unveiling a brand new ship even before the Splendor actually gets to carry guests, right? Or it's crazy.
Yes, that is, it's unbelievable. But again, I think the naming of the ship and just, you know, the idea of releasing itineraries so far in advance, yes, it has to do with, of course, the demand and the trends of people booking further out. But it's the idea of this industry is moving forward. We will get back to where we're at, and every indication that we're seeing is heading in that direction. So I'm always so excited to share things like itinerary launches, or in this case, a naming of a new ship, because we're proceeding, you know, with a plan. That ship is still going to be built. It'll set sail in the fourth quarter of 2023. And like, what an exciting time, you know, for our brand to be able to say something like that, you know, given the circumstances that we've been in, you know, for quite some time. And I know we're not the only ones. I think our sister brand just, you know, released some information about their newest ship. So it's just, it's very refreshing to see, not only being part of the cruise industry, but just an avid cruiser myself, because it's just, it's been rough for the industry. It really is. And any bit of exciting news like that gives us a sense of normalcy, you know, is just, it's again, refreshing to see. I think we can all agree to that, right?
I remember back a few months ago, maybe, you know, back in May 2020, the conversation was always, will the cruise line survive, right? You know, I don't know if we were having Zoom calls, and the questions were, how are you going to keep, you know, how are you going to stay alive? And you know, I think cruise lines now have more money than any other industry with all these deposits to future travel.
Yeah.
Pam is asking, what happens to cruise credits if a cruise in 2022 is canceled?
So right now we have made the decision to not extend FCCs further than 2022, and we remain consistent on that. You know, Pam, we would have to cross that bridge when we get there. If we start, I mean, I would hope that we don't, that we're almost done with the suspension phase. But if we do run into that circumstance, I can tell you that I'm very proud of the way my company has handled all of this, and I foresee us continuing to handle it and make it right for the client. But as of right now, FCCs are not being extended into 2023. We would have to see, you know, if circumstances change in 2022. But the goal is to make it an environment where we're not we don't want to penalize our guests. That's never been, you know, I think like I said, we've handled this in such a wonderful way. It's something I'm very proud of. And I know we'll do the right thing if we run in a circumstance like that.
You know, for all of you that are here that are being a little shy about asking questions, usually it's because you might have questions that are very specific to your trip. If you do have a trip plan and you have questions about it, or you had and you're holding FCCs and have specific questions, you know, whether or not you booked with us, I want you to know that we stand firm to our mission of helping our guests plan their dream vacation. So we're here to help you. Anything that you want to know that we might not have covered during this event, you know, you should know how to reach us. If you reply to any of the emails you get from us, you know, we read every single email that we get, and we reply to you because, you know, of course, that's what we believe in. We believe in just helping clients plan their dream vacation. So please let us know, and we'll be happy to answer. I think Steve has a question he wants to share from one of our guests here in the event. Steve, you want to go ahead and do it?
Yeah, I was typing it to you, but it's from Jack. He asked the question, other brands share reciprocal benefits of their loyalty programs across sister brands. Regent doesn't. Are they considering that for Norwegian or at least Oceania?
You know, we've looked at that many times in the past, and I think the challenge is not necessarily, you know, with our brand, what do we offer, you know, because it's what can the other brand offer in terms that will match up with, you know, with what, because we already include everything. So it's a challenge, but it's something we've looked at many times before. Right now, we don't have a program in place, but, you know, I know it's something that we will continue to look at, and hopefully we can figure it out, because the idea is, right, to keep our guests within our family of brands, and ultimately, you know, I would think the goal is to own their cruise life travel, right? But right now we don't have a brand reciprocity program. Good question.
Yeah, good question. Good question. Okay, let's see. Who else? Who else do we have? Who else do we have? Andrew, is that you raising your hand?
Can you hear me?
How you doing, Andrew?
Yes.
Oh, fine. Yes, I have a question. I have sailed with Regent several times in the past. I've always loved them. That's my favorite cruise line. But I have a question regarding itineraries. Why is it we don't see many cruises from the West Coast to the French Polynesia? Because it seems like that is one of the most safest places you could go today. I know you have one which is a world cruise, but not simply to go to Polynesia. Can you answer that for me?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much for your loyalty. In terms of itineraries in French Polynesia, I know we have had them occasionally. I know that for some reason, when we rolled out itineraries, you know, 2 years ago for, you know, where we're at now, we did not have many options, you know, in that area. And I don't know why we have, again, the goal is not to redeploy our ships with all of this. But I'm not quite sure why we have not, you know, I would assume because it is a safe place, you're right, that it's something we've looked into, but I think a lot of folks don't realize how difficult it is we don't shift itineraries based on like, on a particular, it's a whole season. So that all comes into play. But again, I don't have the answer to it specifically as to why we haven't released itineraries to that area with you know, in the phase of suspensions. I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good question, Andrew. Let's see. What else do we have? What else do we have? I want to make sure you guys use this opportunity to ask questions. Paul, how you doing today? Paul Nicholson, how are you?
Oh, hanging in there, I guess. You know, we do have another cruise booked through you guys for next April. But I got to be really honest. If this COVID stuff doesn't list, we will be canceling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will put up with maybe, you know, having the at the buffet, you know, somebody handing me the plates, to be honest with you. That buffet was kind of questionable to begin with. But But if I can't go to a kiosk and get myself a cup of coffee or a glass of iced tea or something like that without having somebody serve it, I'm not going to spend the kind of money that this cruise costs to just be miserable.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Paul. Look, there's one very consistent message that Frank Del Rio, the CEO of NCLH, has been very vocal about since the beginning of the pandemic, which is they want to ensure that the experience that guests have on board is extraordinary and is as great as it was pre-pandemic, right, Nicole? I mean,
absolutely. Again, the goal is not to inconvenience anyone. The goal is to keep the experience that our guests have always known and improve upon that. But we've had to make some adjustments to COVID. But I get it. I understand. I completely see your point of view, and and that's why to Carlos's point, things are changing so quickly. Restrictions are loosening up, and that's something that, we watch closely. And as soon as we can loosen up restrictions to make the experience more of what our guests are accustomed to, you better believe it, we're going to do that. So I think just the initial cruises, and you got to keep in mind that those initial cruises, are something that are going to be so crucial of just getting the crew used to these health and safety protocols, our guests. And again, that's why we're not rushing it. We're doing it in a way where we just want to make sure we get it right. And we're going to learn a lot from those first cruises as well, right? And once we learn, we improve upon it in future cruises. Again, your cruise is not until April. So much can change between now and April. So just hang tight. Yeah, hang tight, and let's just, let's see how this all unveils.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I really think so. I think a lot of people are waiting for the first ships to get back on the water and to actually start sailing. And I think what I think is going to happen is, although the demand is incredible right now, I think that we're only tapping a very small surface of what it's actually going to be once people see, other ships that actually sailed and guests come back and talk about the experience. So, and
I just want to add, I think, and by all means, I don't want to compare this to, September 11th, but you can kind of draw some parallels. Like I remember, them telling us we had to show up to the airport 2 hours in advance, and going through checkpoints and not being able. And back then, I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine myself doing that." And fast forward to now, and it's what we're all accustomed to. So I'm not going to say that, but I just think there's something to be said about us being able to adapt in that way, and now we'll see, right?
We'll see. All right, good. Okay, so I want to be very respectful of Nicole's time because she is very, very busy, and I want to make sure that we've covered every single question that's out there. But I also want you to know that if you have any other question that we weren't able to cover, either because of time or because of, it was a very specific question about your trip, let us know. Write us, let us know. We'll make sure we take really good care of you, and we answer any other outstanding question privately or via email, phone, whatever. Also, just in case, I want to make sure that I'm going to put in the chat real quick. If anybody has any other questions, also, you can email to marketing@luxurycruiseconnections.com.
Or Carlos at luxurycruiseconnections.com.
Even better. You can send it directly to me. Just say Carlos@luxurycruiseconnections.com. You see it in the chat. Just email me. I'll be happy to take care of your question. I'm here for you. We're all here for you. We're a fast-growing company, but we're a family company. Okay, and we understand how important travel and these trips that you're planning are for you. And so just know that we're sensitive to all the different things that are happening and changes all around the world, but we're here to guide you and just hold your hand and make sure you feel comfortable and know exactly what you're doing and what decisions you're making, okay? I guess that's it for today. Yeah?
Carlos, thank you for being such a wonderful host. I think we should do more of these. I love it. So casual, this conversation. I love that it wasn't just a monologue on my part. So this is wonderful. This is wonderful. And thank you so much for everyone's feedback and their engagement. I mean, you guys were a fabulous crowd. And again, any other questions that we didn't get to or that you think of after the call, like Carlos said, reach out to them and they'll work with me to be able to provide the answer as best as I can.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. You'll have a great rest of the evening. See you soon.